Hello, my dear ones. You know, after reading all your inquiries, I needed to get some help. So I had to go find Pat here. She's the smart one, you know. So she's going to help me answer some of these questions. Yeah. You need to get to know Pat anyway. You know, I've never met a woman quite like Pat. Here's a woman that goes through osteopathic school, decides she didn't care for it, wanted something else right in your life, and then what did you do from there before you became an A&P professor?
Oh, well, I had a wild hair and I joined a band.
Did you?
I was a lead singer and played guitar.
Jiminy Christmas!
Yeah.
Now that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have the artistic side to balance it all.
You do. So you went from that, you went through osteopathic, you'll be a singer in a rock and roll band.
Yep.
And then you went from there to becoming a professor of anatomy and physiology.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? But I love that sort of thing, you know, and I want you all to look for that kind of excitement and joy in yourselves. The world is to conquer and balance knowledge. She went and soaked her mind. Remember, we talk a lot about the mind, and then she went and enjoyed the now.
Yeah.
Played rock and roll and lived in the now and got balanced back and then made a decision what was best for her. I thought it was really cool how you did that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So, again, we're going to carry on with these Q&As here. So, let's look at this one. Let me see, this is quite a long one, so let's see if we can go through this real quick. Oh, wow. I better not read that first one. This is from LB. Love you. That was sweet, wasn't it?
It's a truthful statement.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Loving the YouTube vids and just joined the club. Thanks, honey. I am a newbie and don't fully understand the setup, so please excuse me if I am out of order. You know, what is that in the universe? There's order in chaos or something like that. No, I mean, what appears to be chaos is really in order. It's hard to realize there's a hand on everything. But there is.
Yes. Divine chaos.
Divine chaos. Exactly. I like that better. Divine chaos. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Take a half hour, Drew. A few questions. Okay. The people who you answer on your YouTube question videos, are they paying clients or can anyone ask you for help, please? Absolutely. This is totally free channel. This is an educational channel. We do everything we can to bring the awareness of our experiences to you, what we found out in the healing processes, and, you know, and free, so you can help yourself. And it's not always about the money. It's about being aware of the truth of the situation, what's causing the problems. I'm trying to get this planet to shift from treatment-based thinking to causative thinking.
Yes.
And that pulls you back into, you know, closer to the God conscious state when you're looking at it spiritually wise. But if you're chasing it, it'll always elude you. Like the mind, you'll never find the answers in the mind. Okay. Due to the personal nature of questions 6 and 7, I would be grateful if you did not say my name on YouTube, if indeed you do answer me. Did I say the name? I didn't say any name, did I?
I don't think you did.
I didn't say any name. Did I?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Thanks for your Christmas offers. Hey, you're welcome. Is it the day I place the order, my end or your end? I am in Australia. I don't get that. Number 3, do the herbs come in alcohol? I'm super sensitive, even a few drops. Yeah, but we have them in glycerin. So
And you can also boil off the alcohol too.
Yeah, so there's always a way to take them. And if the tinctures were just too strong, you got capsules. Or you've got teas. You can make we got bulk teas, so either way. I mean, think about that Heal All tea. You were just telling me she's been working on a place she has on the gum, right?
No, actually on the lip.
On the lip?
Yeah, it's on the lip.
All right, so she's putting a Heal All salve on the lip. And now, because we were talking about plantain in the Heal All salve, is a drawer. Remember, it's for snake bites, venomous stuff, which is for tumors. It draws. She's feeling drawing here and up on the neck.
Up the neck, and it's coming down. Feel it in the masseter here.
That's just a little bit, too.
It is, yeah.
Oh, my God. See, and then we're talking the difference between that and the burned skin salve, which I didn't put any astringents, any drawers in there. So if you don't want to draw anything out, use the burned skin salve. But if you want to pull, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I am on a low income, but would like to learn more to help me decide what, if to do. Maybe I should pass this. You know what? Let me pass this question on to someone else to call you, honey. And
yeah.
Don't you think? I think some of these questions are pertinent to something else.
Okay.
All right. This is Hillary. Hillary Cross.
Aw.
Message. Hi, I'm so glad to be able to seek your counsel. Advice, please, on caring for an individual who is severely atrophied. Mitochondrial disease. Yeah, I love that, mitochondrial disease. Now, what could break down the mitochondria? Can anybody guess? Simply put, dysfunction of multiple organs in the body. Suffers from spasms and swelling, heavily medicated. Now remember, this is medical thinking. Dysfunction of multiple organs in the body. Suffers from spasms and swelling, heavily medicated, half hour. Severely constipated. Parents are very fearful that they will lose him as they have fought so hard to keep him home and out of rest home. He is 21 years old and has been home for 3 years, I believe. More so advice on the spiritual side of caring, please.
Well, spasms and swelling, that's just telling you that there's acidosis that is triggering some sort of spasm in the body as it's reacting to these acids that are just congested and they can't be released. I mean, a lot of what we're looking at comes from the congestion of the lymphatic system, and it's not appropriately releasing waste products out of the body. And
yeah, and of course that would be the reason for what? The severely atrophied. Yeah. You know, and I've been trying to get them used to the idea of the word atrophy and decay, because that's the AMA's word for cancer.
Yeah.
That's just what a cancer cell is a decayed or atrophied cell. You can argue the mitochondria is damaged. Yeah, we can argue that all day long.
Yeah,
who cares?
It's an organelle in the cell.
Exactly. Really?
Yeah.
What else are you going to damage? But that's also how you convert RNA and DNA, and it's damage and mutate that, and that links to your genetics, see? So this is why, when you understand what side of chemistry is causing this, the mutation or the augmentation of consciousness from one level, then, it goes back to the acid side of chemistry, and then that goes to where? What system? And multiple organ function means what? Systems are down. Systems are going down. Well, what one system can make multiple organs go down? There's only one system there's two that can make multiple organs go down, but by the time the one makes your multiple organs go down, you're down.
Yeah.
So we'll put blood over there in the corner. We get that one. All right, so one other system could be responsible for multiple organ failure. It's only one, the great lymphatic system.
Yes.
We're writing a book together on that. She's more the technical A&P side, and I'm more the founder, look at the kidney connections and all that side.
Yeah.
So, when you see that you're in a severe state of atrophy or decay, the human body, remember this. Pull back to chemistry, okay? So, since chemistry controls the physical world, one way of looking at it, right? Then, which side of chemistry is this body on? There's only one that causes that level of decay, and that's the acid side. Well, then again, just what you said. Which system is down that affects most? The lymphatic system.
Yeah. And when it comes to healing and, looking at that spiritual side of caring for and this is more where Dr. Morse shines, the spiritual aspect of it all. But it's really being in that knowing of you're doing what you can for your body and just allowing it to happen. If you try to hold on too much to healing instead of just allowing it and releasing it, it seems that's more of the way forward, because the lymphatic flow is a release. And
I think that's an excellent point, because when you think about it, even your thoughts, and we talk a lot about the mind. I try to get them out of their minds, and I know people are going to look at this and go, oh, look, this guy's nuts, but try to get people out of their minds a little bit into awareness. But it's that sort of thing, you know, what you were saying, and I just lost my thought on that because I was thinking. But where was I going with that? I don't know, but you made a good point, you know, about that, about helping others, and the fact that if you try too hard, it's a negative blowback. If you think too hard about being well, it's an energy loss. So, like, I'm kind of hinting at living in the now there. Just knowing you're going to be well. This is the pathway of detoxification. It's going to take these acids out of the body. You're going to regenerate tissue, understand the whole pathway, and understand what you're doing here. And then just relax and enjoy life, knowing you will be well. You will not settle for anything less.
Yeah.
You don't. You just, I'm going to be well. Because that's consciousness. The mind goes, I'll try, and I think I can be, and maybe I can be. Consciousness is I will be. Two differences. Two differences in mind versus awareness, consciousness.
Yeah.
Yep. So, suffers from spasms and swelling. Well, where does swelling come from? Your favorite word, osmosis. And of course, osmosis is when you have, remember, a low density actually moving against the tide into high density. So what you have is a glomulation, an acidosis, where acids are building up and the body's bringing in liquids, osmosing it up into these areas, because water is what? The universal solvent in chemistry.
Yeah, it's one of the three main buffers for the acids in the body.
One of the three main buffers. And so when you swell up, what's the first sign? Acidosis. And then what's the second thing you're going to say? Kidney failure. Failure to filter my acids.
Right.
Those two are simultaneously. And we know edema in hospitals, knowing kidneys. We give diuretics for edema. Well, why would you give a diuretic? Because the kidneys control that, right? Right. So they're not working it like they should. They're not looking at it like they should. But all of it's right there in front of them.
Well, I think they know how simple it is, but there's this, the ego can be very, powerful in its desire to complicate everything. And complexity just confuses, and it's a way of controlling the masses, is when you make everything so complicated. And we're here to tell you that it's so simple.
Yeah. Breaking the dictionaries, because we've talked about that. There's a medical dictionary, there's a law dictionary, and of course there's Mr. Webster's. So basically you have several different types of dictionaries depending upon how much they want to con you. Because, like I said, in the IRS code, individual means corporation. So I'm an individual. Oh no, you're a corporation. No, I'm not a corporation. See, that sort of thing. You have to learn the straw man, how they set you up, why your name is on all caps instead of upper lowercase. I mean, they have this whole thing cooked in law like nobody's business. Well, medical the same way. Names of symptomology this long with some medical doctor's name in there somewhere.
Yeah. I used to tell my students we call that ego-based naming.
Did you? Good.
Yeah. And it's
she was a good professor. She wanted to teach simplicity and teach those students entering the medical world how to look at the body, or any other world, how to look at the body, simplicity, and how to work it. And, of course, you were telling me your bosses kind of were saying,
They like complexity. They like to know every little crevice of every little bone and the name of every organ. And, obviously we know the names of every organ, but to get down to the point where you separate it and divide it into so many components that you don't have the overall look of what this organ does and what it's a part of, the whole body.
See, I think it's a good point there too, is that, and we were just talking about that in this last video, individually looking, instead of individually look and then come back and tie it all together. So you can see, like a jigsaw puzzle, you put pieces together, but the picture. And looking at the body, first it's a food processing machine. Your food in, food out, or food in and waste out. So there has to be a sewer system, all that, and that's just common sense. So you wouldn't have to know about the lymph system too much. You just know that there is a system in the body that eliminates your waste. Well, that's a simple approach to it. But no. So it's so complex now that most people don't know how the body eliminates. Matter of fact, most people don't even think about systemic metabolitic waste. They don't even think about that. It's like, eat, poop, that's good, in, out.
Well, if they knew about it, then they would be questioning all of these pharmaceuticals people take and what type of metabolic wastes and byproducts are those producing that you just have to detoxify. I mean, I don't know how many times I have clients that ask, can I still take this medicine? Can I still take this medicine? It's always up to the client. They're in control of their body. We're just teachers. We're just people that guide. But if it were me, I would try to get off these pharmaceuticals because I don't want to have to detoxify that in addition to the lymphatic congestion that is causing the issue from the get-go. That's the primary issue that we're trying to resolve.
And then rebuild the harm that chemistry did to tissues and or the suppression of the lymphatic system. And of course, look at excessive steroid use and what it does to the adrenal glands.
Oh my,
it's
the
like,
steroids.
Holy crap. And then how long does it take to rebuild that? And it's like, oh my God. So learning these truths are just, it'll save you guys so much despair. I can't even tell you. Like that 14-year-old we talked about in the last video. I mean, this person's got themselves trapped in the UK. And trying to get a child outside of medical insanity is extreme. They'll hunt you down like our soldiers did the Native Americans. One Native American chief told me they hunted us into Canada and killed us. So that's what you see. You see kidney failure here, adrenal glands are down, of course. Severely constipated, that means your neurological system's down or you're eating totally constipating foods, which is everything but fruits, berries, melons, and vegetables. You know, grains are constipating. Even the whole grains can be constipating. But white flour, the dairy is extremely constipating. So what's your diet? So a lot of constipation is diet driven, but a lot of constipation is also neurological weakness.
Yeah.
And that comes from low neurotransmitters out of the adrenals, which is adrenal gland weakness.
Yeah.
Or insufficiency or whatever they wish to call that. Spasm just shows high acidosis and neurological weakness. You know, when your nerves are weak and you're getting your calcium pulled out of your body through all this acidosis or stoning your body, with this, the nerves, myelin gets weak and they'll spastic. And also, let me say, enough of that, your vascular wall can spasm and give you a stroke or heart attack.
Yeah.
Gotta be real careful.
Right. Yeah, if you lose that tissue integrity in the vessel wall, it can start ballooning, an aneurysm. So, yeah, these acids are real, and adding more acid on top of that.
It's insanity. Now, I kind of got off on it because someone was talking about this on that 14-year-old, what, chemotherapy. They some people must think it's Jesus juice or something. I don't know. Because it's just like, oh my God. So this is a 21-year-old in a state of atrophy. So immediately you know that the lymph, because I primed them that most 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, teenagers, kidney and adrenals, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. Look at the skins and look at all the problems. And here's another lad, his whole system's down at 21 years. Yeah. Well, excuse me. There's this on the news where this baby was born with cancer. It had a big tumor on the liver, and I go back to the mother, and the lymphatic system, since she wasn't filtering. And that's what another thing that they don't get is a mother isn't filtering, and you're holding a fetus.
Yeah.
See the sick stuff here? It's just scary when you understand the truth of how the body works, and then especially when you deal with another life inside of you, what happens to that? Because you're the filtering agent. And when you're not the filtering agent, then neither is the fetus.
Right. They're dependent on mom's kidneys to filter out their waste products.
And so it becomes a nightmare, and that's just what you're seeing in these poor souls. And it's like, we're going to turn that around, aren't we? We all are going to turn this around, right? That's what we're here to do. And we're doing a good job. These guys are unbelievable.
It is amazing how they answer their questions within the question,
Oh,
So
some of these guys are answering their own questions in front of me.
Exactly.
And it's like, damn, they get it.
They do.
And you're the smartest group of people on the planet. I love it. So that's what I see here. You got to go after your kidneys and adrenal glands, get your lymphatic system moving. If you have to take something for your constipation, we have 5-bowel formulas. Don't take a laxative if you can try it. Try with number 2. How often is your how often do you move? Every other day? Yeah. Every 3 days? Every 4 days? So there's a formula for each one of those that are non-laxatives. They're still GI tract restoratives. I would work with that. Heavily medicated.
Yeah, that's
not yucky.
Yeah.
We know you pull him out of here. Listen, if you have to, Hillary, call us. Call the clinic if you have to. You get a 21-year-old decaying, and we don't let that happen, do we?
No.
Nobody lets that happen here. So definitely you just take care of this cat. But again, you can predict malabsorption here. I can see it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it's going to get worse because he's got to go on the fruits and the berries and the melons to clear this. So I'm getting the advice to get some green drinks with this lad a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that's just what I got on that one. Uh-oh. Lymphatic system. Oh, someone sent the lymphatic system to us. Let's see what that is. She must have got this out of what? Diseases of the lymphatic system. Don't you love that one? Diseases of the lymphatic system.
Aren't they all?
That's what I'm going to say. I got one for you. In medical thinking, which disease does not have a lymphatic connection? Get back with me on that one. I want you to think about it real strongly. Which, in the medical world of thinking, disease does not have a lymphatic involvement? Hello, Sarah. My mate sent me an article about the lymphatic system, and one data point question is it states the lymph system also feeds the cells, and Dr. Morse says the blood feeds the cells, and the lymph waste washes the cells. Washes, well, you can say that basically. Would you please submit this article to Dr. Morse, and I would like to get clarification from him with respect to the differencing data points in his article. Thank you very much. All right.
Well, they might be thinking of the lacteals, which are lymphatic vessels in the small intestine, which absorb the lipids.
Nutrients.
Yeah, the hydrophobic nutrients. You know, your fats.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the lipid transport. Because the medical, they don't show that duct, but Marcy got a hold of that.
Right,
Old medical
right.
showed that duct.
Right to the liver.
Right to the liver. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd say the only thing that the lymphatic would deliver would be a lipid. But that lipid would be more for protection of the cell. Yeah. And maybe even in the cell, but you've got HDL in the cell as phospholipids in the cell wall, right? And so you've got protection there with that level of cholesterol. Where you have LDL is in the steroid productions. So, and I think the lymphatic fluid is probably LDL or something. You know more about that than I do. But it's certainly the transport of lipids to be involved in the cell uses the lipids at all. Within.
Yeah. Yeah, they both have roles, LDL and HDL. But you're right, LDL.
Both as protections, as far as I know.
Yeah, and you're right, LDL is in the production of the steroid hormones. Also in the protection of the acidic blood vessel walls. So when they talk about cholesterol plaquing blood vessel walls, it's LDL that's going there. And, we don't like to say anything in the body is bad, but that's the one they call the bad cholesterol.
I love that.
I know.
I love that.
Isn't
because
that funny?
It is funny because that saves a lot of lives, believe it or not.
It does,
and it saves you a lot of pain, believe it or not.
So those acids will tear right through.
So what happens is when you get advanced, let's say, arthritis and stuff like this. What you have is an extremely dehydrated, malabsorption individual. So the lipid absorption is nil, next to none. Nutrient absorption, so they don't have lipid protection anymore. Their adrenals are shot. They killed all their bacteria through antibiotics. And what do you have? A body that can't protect itself.
Exactly.
And either way,
Severe
through
pain.
lipids or bacterial protection. But bacterial is protection, guys. And we go over this about the reason bacteria is on the planet.
Exactly. They're our friends. They're cute little guys.
Yeah.
They're there to protect us, to break down things that are decaying, that are dying, so that we can regrow anew, so we can regenerate.
See, and you're sending this to an A&P professor who teaches this to others. And the thing is, there's a lot. I'm going to bring you one because it was in the Herb Quarterly magazine this month. I just got it. And it was on the lymphatic system and an explanation of the lymphatic system. It's like the one in Dr. Oz's magazine I showed you. It was like, very superficial thinking. You can read that in a lymphatic for nuts people books, but that sort of thing. It's just superficial. But you have to understand the AMA does not understand the lymphatic system. So if you give me any documents from the AMA, you're giving me documents of the lymphatic system they don't understand, bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And that's just what they have. Remember, we just discovered the lymphatic system in the brain. Remember University of Virginia 2 years ago? And then before that, I don't know how she thought to name and claim this was a second lymphatic system, because she discovered that before they discovered the main lymphatic system in the brain. I'm going, what? How come she calls it the lymphatic system when, if I discovered, I would call this is the lymph system in the brain, but she didn't. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. I'd like to talk to her as a professor. What drove you to think this is an additional lymphatic system in the brain? And I'd like to see what she says about that. If we had a radio show, we'd invite her on.
We need a radio show.
You do. I've had them.
With a little rock and roll music.
But the blood is your nutritive supply, no question, and your lymphatic is your sewer system. But this sewer system has to be lipid, because remember, we've talked a great deal about the lipid difference instead of ionization of electrolytes.
So yeah, right here, and they're even saying right here, the thoracic duct of the lymphatic system empties into the left subclavian vein. So they're saying that the lymph is being carried back to the blood, which, I used to teach that as a college professor, because it's in all of the textbooks. There's no textbook I have that doesn't claim that. But when you look more closely at it, and I was doing research in some medical journals showing the lymphatic vessels right there next to the renal corpuscle where the filtration of the blood occurs. There's the lymphatic vessel, which is also being filtered. So it's all going out through the kidneys. There's none of this mixing the blood with the lymph, mixing the sewer system with the kitchen.
None of that. None of that. It's all false, and that's a problem. But when you think it out simplistically with some knowledge of chemistry, you begin to realize the fallacy of that level of thinking. Because we all know that if you move the pH of the blood, you're in trouble. Because everything pH and variance of pH, a little pH this way causes one action, and a little the other way a little action. That's why you want to be very careful about the food you eat, and that is pH perfect for the Homo sapien. Well, how do you look at that? And then you tear back, the designs and all that kind of crap like that.
Yeah. It's a different world, though, coming from this medical thinking. And
totally.
And yes, I did gross human anatomy. I studied the human body, and you can see the thoracic duct going to that subclavian vein, but if you just accept that at face value as that's what it is,
then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think there must be another route to the kidneys that we have to functionally see as being the truth.
Yeah. Well, the problem with the lymph vessels, and they acknowledge this in the University of Virginia, is the translucentness of them.
Exactly.
And the fact that you can't see them basically when you're alive. But you can't see them when you're dead, but you can see them when you're alive. That's what it was. Because remember these body exhibits? They had everything. Did you ever see that China body exhibit?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that has to be the cat's meow for a professor, because it is so cool. They had it up at the university, and I was up there looking at all the body parts, and then I could see medical doctor after medical doctor coming in looking at them, because it's too cool. Because you don't really have a good chance like that.
Right.
And so here's a professor that didn't have a good chance like that. So this is the body head to toe. Everything. They had the body sliced an inch horizontally, an inch vertically. Then they had all the tissues and all the systems, except the lymphatic system.
Yeah. Well, it is. Those vessels are
very
harder to see.
And some are, just like the University of Virginia, piggyback, which we discussed earlier. That would make sense that God would piggyback the sewer system on the venous system in sucking, or even on the arteries, to suck out any waste material magnetically to keep the blood pH in a more perfect stance. So, there's stuff we just don't know, but if you look at that, you can't acidify the blood. There's no way on this planet you can acidify the blood.
Okay. This is just for someone's here.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Drew.
How you doing?
Good.
How are you?
Oh, yeah, I do that. I'll come say hi. Okay, they're visiting from New York. They're yours. They're your people.
Yeah, one of their sons has taken your course, so
I'll be down there in a minute.
He's very excited. Okay.
I'll be down there in a minute. Tell him I'll be down there in a minute.
Well, it kind of makes me think of the spleen. When you look at the tissue of the spleen, you've got red pulp and white pulp. It's beautifully separated out, but it's where we lymphatically clean the blood, is in the spleen. And it's kind of almost like that's a representation of how we can lymphatically clean the blood if there is that
exactly. And see, that's the point. And when you do research on the spleen, it's a blood lymphatic organ. But when you ask them what the lymphatic system is, it's a blank stare. So the point is, and it's a good point taken, is the blood cleans itself through the spleen and refurbishes the red blood cells. So when you're detoxing somebody, you want a clean spleen. Because when you look at the whites, you know, and you look at the platelets, you're going to the spleen. And then you're going to hitchhike that to the bone marrow. So once you get how the rhythm is of the body, it's simple. When you really look at that and what God had. A feeding system, you have to keep the blood clean, of course, and then you got a chemical factory, the liver. But it's man who puts these labels and misdiagnosis and propaganda on stuff. And if they see something, they put something on it like it's a definition. And I keep going back to the world was flat one time scientifically.
Yeah.
Well, remember, the world was flat. And if you didn't believe it, you probably went to jail back then. Or got your head cut off or something. The world wasn't flat, but scientific, they thought it was flat because you get to the ocean, it just drops off, right? Look, it just drops off out there. That's the kind of thinking that I think, no offense, that we have between allopathic and naturopathic, or naturopathy.
Right.
All
right. My name, do we say the names here?
Yeah.
My name is Daniel. I'm type 1 diabetic since the age of 4. Now I'm 26. Melon and herbs are amazing, but my slow insulin feels like I'm always going to need it. So he's always feeling like he's going to need the insulin. His brother lost his right leg in an accident last year. Phantom pain driving him insane. Can't sleep.
Crap.
Is saying the nerve that goes nuts. The nerve goes nuts. He's taking medical marijuana.
And nerve calming pill. His phantom is not going always. It really extremely and scary. Any tip? Thank you.
So this is for Daniel or his brother?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them. Okay. Well, I'm seeing some amazing, just in the clients I'm working with, people coming off insulin with type 1. It's possible. I remember medical thinking, type 1s will always need insulin, but that's not the case.
Because when they tell you what type 1 is, they make you think that it can't be back. You can't get insulin back and that sort of thing. It's just all hogwash. But the problem is, insulin is a hormone.
It is.
And so then what happens to the beta cells is the same thing would happen if you take steroids to the adrenals. So you have to be careful with that. The longer you're on, that was Marcy's problem, been on insulin for 35 years, trying to come off of a steroid after 35 years is a trick or treat type of thing. Right. Because you've got some serious ups and downs. That's what she's going through, serious ups and downs, serious stuff. And so...
this is since the age of 4.
Yeah, and so was her. She was, real young like that. But the only thing I can say is you keep working on it. Our experience here is what we've seen, again, is if you put on a fruit diet, and after a week or two, maybe, however long that takes, you'll quit what I call glucose loading, and pretty soon you'll balance out. And it's the lowest blood sugars you can expect while still eating.
Right.
Because protein can make your blood sugar soar. So it's just,
Yeah. And you'll see the, I have a type 1 diabetic case right now, and they were recently sick, off the insulin, by the way, sick and able to, but they had a spike in their blood sugar levels
when they did that
during this healing crisis.
And they could have had the healing crisis in the beta cells too, which did that too,
Exactly. And so how the healing crisis presents and what symptoms you see alongside of that is always interesting when you see how the body starts to heal itself. But so
you're always working on the lymphatic system. Even with type 1, you're thinking, well, I'm going to the pancreas and beta cells. Why would I be working on my lymphatic system?
Well, what caused the beta cells to go down?
There you go.
What that lymphatic obstruction, suffocating those cells so that they can't release the insulin appropriately. And then the blood sugar goes up because the insulin is what pulls the glucose into the cells.
And then you can argue from that point that then it becomes intracellular acidosis because of the inability to, the lymph, because of stagnation, the inability to discharge waste. So in all of that implies the proteins hugging, or the amyloid, whatever they want to call it, that's hugging the cell, but then also intracellular is continuing to produce. So it'd be like having constipation, but you're continuing to eat.
Yeah.
And then all that blows back on the organelles.
Right.
And whether you call it the mitochondria, who cares? RNA, chromosomes, who cares? It's going to blow back on that cell. And then, of course, that consciousness blows back And if you're getting a replication, you get replicated weaknesses. And this is when you look at genetics and how the weaknesses are perpetrated or promoted that way. Now, the phantom limb pain, how would you deal with that? You would deal like it if it was still there.
Right.
You're going after what system? You're going after the lymphatic system. See, just because the limb is not there, it is there astrally. I just gave him a discourse on how the God worlds are put together.
Yeah.
And phantom limb fits in that, because when we're talking about the astral world as the next world, he has a body in the astral world like you do. His astral limb is still there. That's why he's feeling it. And your nervous system is hooked astrally, and it's why he's feeling it. So you have to go after and get the acidosis out of this lad, and that pain will go away out of that limb.
Yeah. It's beautiful how, the world is set up so that these bodies, even when organs are removed, when limbs are removed, that level of presence is still evident.
It's still evident, and you have the counterpart. It's like the blueprint, but you still have an astral body, and I told him about the causal body. So you have two other bodies with the blueprint in it, and the blueprint comes from the causal body. That's your Akashic records and stuff.
Yep.
So when you get your energy up to that level, things rearrange and change and grows. I mean, it's amazing, ain't it?
It is.
The things we're seeing, it's just cool. You can't believe it. So, go after your health the same way. And because you're after that one big system of acidosis and agglomulation, as you were saying, coagulation,
Yeah.
and you'll be good.
Yeah, the best way to calm a nerve is with alkaline fruit.
Because it's one. Yeah, it's antacid, and it's an antispasmodic. Anything alkaline is antispasmodic. So, well, wait a minute. If that's true, then that means spasticity and spasms are on the acid side of chemistry.
Yes.
There you go. That's easy. So what have we got here? Gina.
My 52-year-old aunt died today. I'm sorry.
52?
So I think, is that calcifications or calciphylaxis and renal failure, secondary to diabetes?
Of course.
She chose not to eat differently due to the diabetes and not let it control her. Can you please share the process of this horrific disease and consequences of her life choices to help others?
Okay, Ken. So let's look at this through the eyes of truth. Okay? So here's what was said. Is the aunt died basically of renal failure, which is what kills us all. That's why kidneys are so important. That's why we put them in your face. Understand these little sweethearts, because they control the system that kills you. You just got to look at that. But this death is not like blood. Blood, you're out quick. Limp, you have a long, painful, slow death. All right, so let's look at it. It says, died of renal failure secondary to diabetes. All right? That's medical thinking, and that's the lie of it all.
Right.
Diabetes is secondary to kidney failure. If you're going to use the word diabetes and what it means, then you're going to say it's secondary, because it only happens when your adrenals fail. And that happens when your kidneys fail. They almost fell together, but the kidneys fell first because of the high protein diets. Kidney tissue does not deal well, and neither any other tissue in your body, and neither any tissue in omnivores, including bears, deal with high protein diets. I'm telling you. You can't do them. It kills animals early. Yeah. You can't do them. We're not a high protein planet.
No, we're not.
But they made it that way. Yeah. See, the high nitrogen fertilizers and all this leaking into Monsanto. I was talking to them about the World Bank. They went to World Bank. You know who the World Bank is? A good example is Monsanto. Part of the World Health Organization, the World Bank thinking. So that's the kind of level you would get. It's okay to eat this meat. I don't know if you ever remember, this goes way back, but it was a movie called Soylent Green.
Oh, I remember. It's made out of people.
Oh, it's made out of people. It's like when you got so old, you walked into this machine, it terminated you and turned your body into these little green pills, and then they gave them back to the populace for nutrition.
Yes.
That was bizarre in its day, wasn't it?
Well, some things are
exactly
very
scary,
revealing as the mindset of
scary deja vu stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to realize that the reason you're diagnosed with a symptom and a disease name to that, is you've got to go back to that causative thinking and realize what is initiating these set of symptoms. The disease module is simply a set of symptomologies, as we've talked many times, named by allopathic physicians to whatever, to fit their medical Bibles, medical dictionaries. So that way you have everything's a disease and they can treat it. That way they can control all the other modalities. You want to treat our diseases? You got to get a license for that. Chiropractors, you want to treat my diseases? You got to get a license. Naturopaths, you want to treat my diseases? You got to get a license.
Yes.
Don't they?
License.
We don't treat diseases. We don't believe in the holy. It's totally a man. You want to go to the actual tissue and chemistry and physics and what's going on here.
Yeah.
We don't care what name you gave. The symptoms, what is going on, and what's the causative factor to these. And that takes you right into the kidneys. So her kidneys and adrenals were the problem all along. Here's what killed her, not the diabetes.
Right.
It's can control blood sugar. But what gland controls blood sugar? Sugar metabolism. The adrenals.
Yeah.
And they sit right on top of the kidneys. So when the kidneys go, the adrenals go, blood sugar can go, the blood pressure can go. So it's an oxymoron. It's a reverse when you look at that.
Yeah, because when you start getting lymphatically congested, it's because the kidneys aren't releasing the congested lymph. And when you have a weakness in the kidneys, it shows in every organ, and more importantly in those genetically weak organs.
Oh my God.
So,
when you know the truth of how things work and the simplicity of it, then more serious questions come up. Like, is your lymph nodes open? Because we're talking about this because one of the questions we're talking about the lymph nodes, and this girl has tongue cancer, and they want to remove the lymph, cut half her tongue off, and remove the lymph nodes in the throat to the tongue and others. And I was explaining why you would never do that. You move the lymph nodes to the tongue and throat. You talk about. So some things you got to understand that the problem wasn't the lymph nodes. Medical doctors say, the problem's the lymph nodes. Really? Well, it's a septic tank in the line of a system. And it's always the eliminative organs that's the problem. The lymph nodes are just there to be the flush of the macrophage and the bacterium. So they're there just to help break down waste.
Exactly.
It is the eliminative organs. So the question is, what type of chemistry hurts your eliminative organ? How did you hurt your kidneys? What were you eating? What type of chemistry were you consuming?
Well, apparently her aunt did not want to let the diabetes control her, so she didn't change her diet. And
wow.
So I assume what's meant by that, she didn't want to eat a diet to counter the diabetes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what they meant by this, but I think you're right in that sort of thing
she
that they're
chose
saying.
Not to eat differently.
To counter the diabetes. It's like counter the diabetes. See, we've got to teach man to wake up from that thinking. That's total medical consciousness control and totally had that soul locked. A 52-year-old died because the medical doctors controlled her thinking.
Right. Well, and you also, medical doctors will tell a diabetic to go on a high-protein diet.
Exactly.
That's usually what they say. They say, don't eat any fruit, which is exactly what you want to eat. You want to eat nothing but fruit. I mean, fruit is mostly fructose. Fructose doesn't need insulin at all to be absorbed into the cells.
It's a simple sugar.
Yeah.
And that's what people say, fruit is so sweet. And I give this analogy. And water's so wet. And it's 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. What makes it so wet? And that's the same thing. God figured out just the right chemistry makes things feel more, and still be simplistic.
Right.
That's a master chemist.
Exactly. And of course fruit is sweet because we have a sweet tooth because this is the best food for us. What are we naturally attracted to?
Exactly.
And there's more glucose in your starches. I mean, that's just thousands and thousands of glucose molecules connected end to end. You just can't taste the sweetness of it because you don't break it down until it starts moving down.
That's the point right there. And I always said that, you're talking about fruit having a lot of this sugar, a piece of bread, wow.
Way more. Yeah. But the proteins are just going to take down the kidneys. So I'm just seeing it in all of my diabetes cases. The fruit is healing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just flat down. It's evidence of when you see it. You may not think
mine, all of Marcy's, all of Attila's, and all of your guys that communicate with me, Hildy's and everybody else's. So it is just the truth of it all. But it's refreshing to know that you can eat and enjoy your foods and be well doing that. It might be a little discipline to get off the proteins and stuff like that. Okay, I get that. But you either do or live with your problem.
Right. And when any diet, you don't want to let it control you. Food should not control anybody. I mean, we are,
Thank you.
Nothing should control us.
Exactly.
You should be able to just be and, choose whatever beautiful food is out there that's going to be healing. But, if
In the
you're...
moment living.
Yeah, if you're going to the meats and the dairies, then that's controlling you. That's what's controlling your consciousness, are those addictive mucus-forming foods that aren't healing you.
And you could get... I mean, there was a point that these navel oranges almost controlled my thinking. They were so good. My body craved them so much, I was almost addicted. And it's like, because you said it right. Here's a person that doesn't think you're spiritual, right? Right. No, but it is that sort of thing. It's that spirituality. And the addiction, you don't want anything to control you. I just gave him a video on freedom and the ecstasy that freedom brings, and that sometimes we get used to being chained up. It reminds me of that when the wall came down, and all that, in Reagan's time and that, and they interviewed this Russian lady, and they asked her, how does it feel now to be free? And she goes, we never knew we weren't.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here with globalization.
Right.
And you got to be awake to that, or it'll suck your freedom right out of you.
Always support the side of the individual, that individual expression. When you start collectivizing any group, you're going to suppress your rights, you're going to suppress your freedom to be on this planet. Each and every human being on this planet is a soul that has to express something. Don't let them suppress that.
Exactly.
And don't let your diet suppress that.
Exactly. I couldn't say it better. Love it. Absolutely. So that's what I would do with others. When you find out you have a problem, go after your body. Go on 100% raw. Then move yourself closer and closer to fruit, berries, and melons. And at the same time, learn what herbs you could use to open up the kidneys and open up everything, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah. Follow nature.
I mean, I wish this is all I had to deal with, is this level of problems. If this is all the level of problems we had to deal with, the way this lady died at 52, she had to die from, calcification.
That's acidosis, yeah. If there was any calcified...
52 years old, easy case to save. I mean, I tell you, this is sick when you see a 52-year-old die from something like that. Complications from diabetes, complication from medical people. Yuck. Makes me sick. It's real easy. Type 2, I'll use their name, I guess, right? Type 2, easy. Just fix your kidney and adrenals and you're good.
Exactly.
They also are this smart. They know that there's neurological diabetes too.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, so you guys are getting good. We teach them. We're like you. We teach good, I think.
Okay. What are Dr. Morse's thoughts on God's flat Earth? Well, isn't that coincidental? There are more and more YouTube videos coming to say that the Earth is really flat, that in 1956 the government found living proof of God in Antarctica. I've heard about that with Atlantis.
Did you?
And is keeping it from the public, so they created the lie of a huge spinning ball in space.
Kristen, you want me to comment on this? You want to comment on this? I don't know if I want to touch this.
I will say that I've heard of this, and what my thing is this. Does it really matter? If the Earth is a globe or is it flat, is that going to change how you interact with life on this planet? I mean, it's all an illusion anyway.
Well, that's the point, is that, but it's round. People have been outside of Earth quite a bit. We circled it. It's hard to say that the Earth is really flat.
Yeah.
But what you might be thinking about is that the dimension looks flat when you look at the physical realm. I showed you a God Worlds chart. I got it around here somewhere. The one we got for sale. I laid all the. Well, yeah, you could be understanding the realm is maybe flat that way, but the planet, no. I mean, that was an old time thinking way back when, but that hadn't to do with this kind of thinking that ties the Earth with the government found proof of God in Antarctica. I think the proof of God is everywhere, including yourself.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you have awareness, that you have perception, is a fact that a living entity exists, that you have the ability to comprehend and think, that this entity has the ability to create a mind. So it's very difficult, even as an agnostic, and I welcome people to become agnostics, but open. Where you don't believe anything, just take a look. See, that's why I say get out of your mind, see, out of these philosophical belief systems and crap like this, the Alan Watts syndromes, and just look around.
Yeah.
And you start to go, oh my God, the beauty, the interaction, the workings of the human body. I mean, it's like, there's not a creative design here? Oh, absolutely. And I would really like to get that guy in the chair. I keep forgetting his name. The brain of the universe, and he's stuck in his chair.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I keep forgetting his name. And he did a whole series on him and his prospect of the universe. Mm-hmm. And his last thing is there is no God. It's all just, yeah, I know. I could get him out of that chair, then there would be God.
That's what I call the difference between intellect and intelligence.
Ooh.
Intellect is just in the mind. Intelligence, the generative principle, that's the care. When you attach that care to the intellect, then you have true knowing, true wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom over knowing.
Yeah, one of the questions, because I talk about detached compassion, and one of the girls wrote me and says, I don't understand, that sounds like an oxymoron. And it would sound like an oxymoron, but you have to understand that. You know, you can have compassion, you can have love, but as soon as you individualize it, then it's got a chain around your neck.
Yeah.
You can love your mate as an individual, stuff like that, but you remember when it's time to go, what happens? There's emptiness, loneliness. There's a deep and lost space because you invited that other consciousness into your space and shared it with them. You got to learn not to do that. You got to learn to accept your mate for the beauty and glory of that mate and let them keep their individuality and you keep yours. Yeah. And your survival will be amazingly more beautiful. But as soon as you invite your mate into your space and you share your consciousness, then when that's gone, you're lost. I said, what's her name? I was just talking about the Reynolds woman that just died, Debbie Reynolds, and her daughter.
Yeah.
That's syndrome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see that a lot with couples. Mm-hmm. You know, one passes away, and well, you talked about the woman. Her dog passed away, and she said she had nothing to live for. So
she passed shortly afterwards, and she told me she would, and then damned if she didn't. And she was a good cancer case to show the elderly you can have stage 4 aggressive lung cancer and live up until your 80s and have a full life, no pain, and still have a tumor in there. I could never get it out of her. I don't know why.
And I think it's Stephen Hawkins.
Stephen Hawkins, that's it. Stephen Hawkins.
Yeah.
It's the Hawking man. I'd love to get him out of that chair. I would love the opportunity to try anyway. He's pretty acidic.
Yeah,
I mean, he's pretty. But we've taken cases worse than him, and I'm going to show them some videos how they open up. Beautiful stuff. But his case is a good case to show you extreme acidosis, and that's just what happens. Extreme dehydration. All of that.
All right. I'm a German YouTube follower and also a member of your website. I really thank you for your work. At this point, I want to wish you and your beloved team a happy new year. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you and keep going. And closed, I would like to know your opinion. In the Chinese medicine, the forehead is called the heart area. What is your experience with the face organ connections? I get pimples in stressful situations, but just on the forehead. Thank you. Best regards. From Germany, Black Forest.
Wow.
Nice.
Well, you want to tackle that one?
Well, I know, when you look at the beauty of how the human body is created, there's so many connections, on the face, to every organ. I mean, even the iris with iridology. And it all comes back to that embryological core. When during embryological development, the sperm fertilizes the egg, and then we form a ball of cells, and the first thing to develop in humans is actually the anus.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
And then it forms this tube, the GI tract, and from that every organ...
The gland comes off of it, the embryonic trunk.
And you can see that connection from that original tube. And it shows up in the face, it shows up in the vertebral column. I mean, you can reflexology, it shows up on the foot.
Luckily, I've educated them to the simple side of what she just said. And that's the important thing, to understand the connection there. And we've talked about that a lot, the embryonic trunk, the relationship, the symbiotic relationship of that and everything. And plus, don't forget the electrical side of living foods, and that release of the electricity along that electrical bowel wall, the mucosa, and that relationship going to those related organs, and it's probably so specific that it relates to different minerals and different constituents within the plant, to how that energy is focused to different routes. I'm telling you, we're so superficial. I almost hate to say anything anymore, because what do we really know? That's why I'm saying I'm a God lover, because I realize we don't know nothing. There's so much.
There really is. And it's like, why make it complex? Because just enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Because we could give questions way beyond the intellectual community on this planet, and there's nowhere to go with that for them.
Yeah.
And
I always thought the heart area was
solar plexus, or actually, when you look at the chakras, the adrenal glands are really the emotional area. This is actually, your solar plexus is your causal body, and this is where your mathematics emanate out of, is your solar plexus. The crown chakra, and I mean, you can look at it all different types of ways. I can say that, because I told him about the thousand petal lotus, and you can go visit that and how that is, and that's almost deemed the crown chakra. And one other way of looking at it, the crown chakra could represent soul or consciousness, and all the other ones represent the mind and emotional bodies. You could do that.
Yeah. I thought heart was here but on the facial. But I could, I think there are different ways of representing that depending on what.
Well, I mean, of course they have the yin and the yang, and this is important to understand the cause and effect, the hot and the cold. When things are hot, you add cold, and when they're cold, you add heat. All that's important. But for us, we like to translate it into chemistry, acid and base, because that's more the scientific community. Oh, are they still there? Okay. I'm going to take a break. You want to keep going?
Keep going? Sure.
Yeah, keep going. I'll be right back.
He's letting me take over the reins.
Take over the reins. I got to say hi and give a big hug.
Okay. So hopefully that answered your question about the face organ connection. Like I said, I thought the heart area was right there, right below the nose. But the mapping of the face in Chinese medicine, I can't say that I'm an expert on that. But all of these connections I think are really important. And the more we learn about the connections and what we use here with iridology, I know I've been fascinated with that science of how the iris expresses what's going on in the body. So, we see on the iris, when you look at the iris, the stomach and bowel ring is right around the pupil, and emanating from that are all of the different organs, which again comes back to that embryological core of development and that connection there. And what's really interesting is when we see the bowel release something and heal, oftentimes the organ that's connected to that portion of the bowel is also healing. So when you're going down this path of herbs and fruit, it heals on many levels. Okay, I'll try to take this one really slow, this next question, because I know a lot of you really like to get responses from Dr. Morse. Okay. Hi, Dr. Robert Morse, ND. Hi, how are you? I hope you can help me. I have a friend with advanced PSP, which is progressive supranuclear palsy. Can you suggest anything to help her? It would be great to help her if at all possible. Thank you. And thank you for the great work that you do. And this is from Gail. So, progressive supranuclear palsy. I'm assuming this is associated maybe with the midbrain, or maybe the supranuclear part of the hypothalamus. But that's getting into a little bit too detailed, I think. With any of the palsies, like cerebral palsy and whatnot. When we're looking at a neurological case, really the fruits are going to be so important. The fruits are high energy foods. Electrically, they're the highest, and when we're trying to enhance electrical activity in our nervous system, whether we're calming it or we're trying to get it up and running, we need the fruit to balance that out. And the higher energy fruit is going to be what's really important here. With any type of palsy, it's usually, I'm not even going to say usually, it's always associated with lymphatic congestion, because this backup of the lymph is what leads to the decay of tissue, where we now start seeing negative symptoms come from that. So whether it be a specific part of the brain, which I'm sure that's what they named this after, perhaps they found a lesion in that region of the brain. Where did that lesion come from? From acidosis, from lymphatic congestion. So the fruit, again, is important for that as well, because it comes in and it breaks down that lymphatic congestion. You know, think of this as suffocating the tissue. And when the fruit comes in, it starts to break it down, and then it's released through the lymphatic vessels out through the kidneys. So again, not only activating the nervous system, but also breaking down the lymph, the fruit is going to be important. So I would say a couple of kidney formulas. Really, you know, following that first kit is good for everybody. The 2 kidney formulas, the lymphatic formula, really get you going. And you'll notice we only have 1 lymphatic formula in the first kit, because it really gives a chance for the kidneys to catch up. It's really important to make sure the kidneys are filtering before we add that second lymphatic formula. That's why we don't really add it until the 3rd week. We also have the endocrine formula in there, which helps all of the main endocrine glands to up their function. We have the 2 parasite formulas in there as well. Everybody needs a good parasite cleanse. And Robert's going to be coming back here in just a second, so I will let him add his expert knowledge for this question.
Uh-oh. That's scary right there. A couple of lovely ladies from Long Island, and mother of a chiropractor who is using our programs and kicking butt.
Really?
But I understand healing people like crazy and all kinds of cool stuff.
With herbs and fruit.
All kinds of, absolutely.
Nice.
And
Nice.
chiropractic adjustments. You know, you get a good chiropractor. That's what you want. Because keeping that spine, and then learning that at least that professor's claiming that the spinal fluid and the spine. So when you're looking at the elimination through that, if that in fact is true, then what would happen when you have a vertebrae that's swollen, suppressing, you know, not only your nerve flow, but your lymph flow and
Well, it makes sense. Like, it could be the piggybacking again of the lymphatic vessels with the CSF, you know?
Could be.
It could be just cleaning that. And
Exactly.
maybe that's what the lymphatic system really is.
See, that's the thing I'm thinking is why it's so piggybacked is we are having a little bit of either osmosis or diffusion. Either way, you know, you're pulling some of the waste magnetically out of the blood, because if you think about it, you always have to keep your fuel supply clean.
Yeah.
You dirty your fuel. For us guys, we know what happens when you get water in a fuel line, stuff like that, or you burn diesel in a gasoline engine. Yeah, something like that is not good. And that's what we're doing. We're burning the wrong fuel in the human body, and we're getting the soot, diesel soot. Let me get this one because this guy. Okay, what do we want to call it? Sulfur soot. The guy's pushing sulfur, and it's the sulfur soot.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We see healing when we pull sulfur out of the body.
Oh, yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's truth.
That's truth. That's the truth.
I mean, you can just end the debate right there.
Yep.
This was the next question.
All right.
She has PSP, her friend, progressive supranuclear palsy. And she's asking
Pretty
for help.
wild.
Yeah.
Never heard of supranuclear palsy. Is it a form of... it wouldn't be a form of Bell's, it would be more a form
Well, yeah, there's the supranucleus chiasm, part of the hypothalamus. So I was just trying to remember, like, what part of the brain
that would be.
that, you know, but again, it's the same cause.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. This is Gail. Heck yeah, same cause. She's right on with that. And that's what you're going to go after. But what form is upper circuit brain and nerve, right?
Yeah.
We're going after upper circuit brain and nerve. You're going to use that on this person big time, upper circuit brain and nerve. And you're going to move these acids out of there that is compromising neurons or the flow of anything like that. So you're going to go after all that. I've never seen a palsy that wasn't curable. I've never seen anything that wasn't curable. Don't get me wrong in that way. And I hate to use the medical terminology there and give the wrong impression.
Right.
But there's nothing you can't rebuild in the human body as long as you can remove the acids out of those tissues that's breaking it down. Because remember, that's the only side of chemistry. I mean, the high alkalinity can break you down. It'll burn you too. It's the opposite side of, it's the high end of base. Nobody likes both ends.
Right.
But the common side is going to be the acid side because they're the side of the metabolitic waste and the byproducts for an obvious reason. We need the atoms.
Right.
We need atoms. So we need that to break itself down, Then we enter the microbes to help break itself down. Now we got the atoms again.
Right.
And then I don't know how much we go into the subatomic particles from that. But anyway, you'd get into upper circulating nerve, you go after the kidneys, the adrenals. You're going after this case. You're going after maybe even pituitary. Maybe. You'd have to look at that. See, don't let the, and this is a good point here, do not let the diagnosis fool you. Don't let the location of the diagnosis fool you. Because it doesn't matter, like you said, that it is systemic. You have just a bunch of cells hanging and being, doing their performance like a new engine built from Detroit. You got a new engine. The problem with that thinking is that each cell is genetic. So you've got that consciousness to deal with, right? So some engines are purring really good and some engines are clicking along. But what controls their health and vitality or their decay? The chemistry you steep them in.
Right.
Now, I don't know how you can get outside of not thinking that.
Right.
To not think that is to be ignorant of chemistry and to think that man is designed basically as a special creature that can basically consume anything.
Which is not true, and we're seeing evidence of that
Not
all the
true
time.
at all. And we're worse than billy goats.
Yeah.
You know, we can eat anything, and that's just such a lie. All this stuff is based upon pillars of lies. So we have to break these pillars of lies down and introduce the truth to this planet, and maybe it can get its rocking straight.
And just because you can eat something doesn't mean that it's healthy for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Just because it tastes good with Barbie on it.
It's just a testament to how strong the human body is. I mean, a body that can withstand chemotherapy and a lifetime of dairy, that's
Amazing.
a pretty strong body.
Isn't it?
But
I mean,
it's
you're
not a
a
thriving
professor.
body.
You know the human body. I mean, I've never seen anything so resilient considering the level of chemistry that they're putting in, the level of acid chemistry that humans put in. I'm just amazed. Some of these people that come to us are so advanced in acidosis, you know, they're just a dehydrated shell. Just bones hanging there with skin flapping over it. And it's like, wow, and you're still alive, huh?
It's amazing.
It is.
You know?
And it's like, wow, that just shows you the power of it all. But why go that far? You know, man just has to pull his head out of the sand.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
PSP. Okay, so that's what I would do. And the diet on this has to be 100% fruits, berries, melons. I wouldn't introduce green drinks. I wouldn't introduce anything else. You've seen what we can do with extreme neurological decay.
Yeah.
So it just, that level.
Yeah, the fruit, I mean, it's amazing for nervous tissue because of the high energy. And then it's going to break down the lymphatic congestion that led to the congested acidosis that caused this palsy in the first place.
And then they'll be well, come out of it. Sounds simple, but it isn't. It's true, though. And it's just, the body responds, and most of you already know that. You know, I get all these letters and stuff, and they respond. Just putting your body on a raw food diet, you notice how, when you can remember when you first did that?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I do, too. And it's like,
Amazing.
oh, my God. I didn't know I could feel this good.
It's the energy you feel. It's like, it's kind of like, you know, if you have to take a puppy and you put him in a crate for 8 hours, and then once you open that door, they're just, poof. That's the kind of energy.
Yeah.
That's how, the best way I can describe it. Try it. Just try the raw.
Oh, yeah. And I was telling them when I got my sense of smell back,
Yeah.
I had realized I've been smelling by memory, that a lot of things we do is by the mind.
So true.
And so I started smelling, and I started getting happy again. I didn't realize that because I didn't smell anything, it made me not as happy as I could be. That our five senses makes this experience either joyful
Exactly.
or a hell. So, you know, it's good to have your five. It's good to be able to smell. It's good to be able to taste. I think of the dogs, you know, this planet does smell. So when you smell too good, that's the problem.
It can be
bad. I can smell people so bad now. If they walk by me and I can smell decay in them. I mean, it's like, oh. So, you know, pretty bad that way. So some things you got to be careful what you ask for is what I was telling them.
Yeah, there's a lot of acidosis out there.
Oh my God. And congestion from these dairies, man, is still sucking on the cows, you know what, up in these 80s and 90s.
Sad.
Hi, how are you? I hope you can help me. I have found out a friend has advanced. Oh, this is
the one we just did.
Okay, all right. All right. That was a little long. I've been gardening. I'm going to show my fingernails. I've been gardening. I've been using railroad ties and the white stones out of I've been playing with that. So
that's a peaceful time.
Yeah, set my balance. Gout.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. How can someone with chronic gout in hands, feet, and elbows with small trophi eat fruit when fructose causes flare-ups? Within 30 minutes, I'm in more pain than usual. I get that. From what I read, those with gout are missing an enzyme, which causes the uric acid issues. Where's the wastebasket? I'm going to throw up. Wait a minute. You're missing an enzyme. I guess he's done. He's got to keep his gout. We were talking about gout in the past video. I had a guy fly in here from I don't know where, a wealthy guy, had his own plane, flew in here, flew all around the world trying to find a remedy for gout. And I said, listen, that's your lymph system. It's uric acid. I said, it's either from your high-protein diet or it's from fungus. So, it's an acid. It's easy to get out, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he couldn't believe me, but he did it. He got rid of it, and he was in awe. He couldn't believe it. He said, I traveled the world. You know how much money I spent? I said, yep, I do. He said, I can't believe it. And I said, understand it.
Yeah.
See, what you don't understand is what leads you into hell.
Right.
But it's true, because a lot of fruits have acids in them. They do. There's no question about it. But you could go down to the subacid, see if the apples and below, like the bananas and stuff, will help you, and then go to switch to green drinks for a while.
Yeah.
Go to your green drinks until you can get a handle on this. But you've got to do a few things. I would start killing the fungus in my body. And it's possible he has fungus on the toes and all that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've got to move lymph to get these acids out of your body. That's the system. That's the system. If you're not filtering in your kidneys, then you're not moving lymph. And remember the old filtration. Matter of fact, I found this over there when I was looking. Remember the sediment in the bottle of the jar? Or cup? So,
got to get that out.
Got to get that out. And once you're filtering, it's a simple little thing like filtration. Isn't that amazing? But it all just makes sense. And then you've seen so much already, and it's like, it just clicks. And then people just start getting well.
Yeah.
How simple. We don't need to be complex.
No. The proof is simple too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So and I get that, I've seen people that are, and this is also true with extreme arthritis, and a lot of acidosis that can't handle the fruits. Work up to them. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's okay. Use your green drinks. Lots of parsley. Of course, dandelion green if you could find it, but I doubt it this year. But, anything dark green.
Yeah.
Alfalfa sprouts. Real dark green. If sprout them yourself and let it, put them in a jar in the sun and let them get so green. You talk about an expectorant. I'll tell you a story once that happened to me doing that. Oh, the dark green, where they're so dark. Well, it just pulls out. It just really sucks the mucus out of you.
Better out than in.
Better out than in. From what I read, those with gout are... No, that's not true at all. In my readings, I was asking a medic... I went to this blood chemistry seminar because I'm a chemist. I'm interested in chemistry and how they read it. And this was a lady that was a medical doctor that became a naturopath and bought this big farm and raised her own cattle, ate her own meat. And I still say it's still meat, honey. But she puts on blood chemistry seminars, a new view to look at how the blood ratios and stuff are. I said, I've got to hear this from a naturopathic physician. So I'm going, oh, wow. So I'm talking to her, and I'm the only naturopath in the whole group. They were all medical doctors in her class and that. And I asked her, I said, hey, I'm a detoxifier. I'm a naturopathic physician. I'm a biochemist. I said, I understand chemistry. I said, but I have a lot of clients that are not eating protein diets and still have high uric acid. And she looked at me and she said, fungus.
Yeah, I remember you telling that story.
And it's like, that just makes perfect sense. Because people are literally full of fungus, especially those that take sulfur.
Yeah.
All right, so meat doesn't cause me anywhere near as much pain as fruit sugar grains do. But it's still, what, that's the problem. The syndrome of eating proteins under these type of acid conditions is like feeding an ulcer. When you have an ulcer, all you have to do is eat and you'll forget you have it. As soon as you stop eating, Oh, God.
Yeah.
So I can just say you have to work through this and get on the other side of this. You can't just keep patting the symptomology of this. Take some pain pills and bear it and go. But you've got to get your kidneys filtering. You can take, we have inflammation joint formula. You can take something like that as an anti-inflammatory to kind of help with the inflammation from that, the acid hit on that. It'll help you with that. And then rip it. I mean, get your kidneys filtering and this will come out of you and you'll be through it. Done. But you don't have to go to the acid fruit. In this case, I wouldn't. See if grapes would help you, but if they, you've got to get yourself detoxified. You've got to move through that pain syndrome, whatever it takes you to do that. Vegetables will not do it. Green drinks could help you. But I have uric acid cases friggin' 20 miles long. It doesn't seem like a flexible problem, and I thought anything was flexible until now. Now I feel hopeless concerning. No, I don't feel hopeless. I have tried eating a lot of fruit with veggies, and it's too painful. Sandy, you have to work this out, Sandy. And I would take the inflammations.
Yeah,
joint formula, pain. You could take those, and at the same time, I would do the green drinks, the dark greens and stuff like that, and work that way. Go to the banana, see how else you can move up. See if you can move up to say a sweet apple like Red Delicious juice. Sip it or something. See if you could do that and start working your body back into elimination. At the same time, you need to take the herbs. Yeah. The alcohol might bother you with that pain, so you could go to the, and you could get some buffering with those. The glycerins, you could get a little lipid break with that, and you might want to take some more. He might take, you take some omegas 6 and 9. You don't have to take fish oil, but you can take omega 6 and 9s or something, just temporarily to give you a little additional lipids. Good.
Or try some avocado.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can work with the avocados. So you just got to find that baseline where you can still get your kidneys functioning and filtering, but at the same time detoxify yourself. Because if you can't open up your lymphatic system, there is no remedy for that.
And remember, when the alkaline fruit comes in and breaks down and pulls, it's astringent.
That can hurt.
That pulling is painful.
It's painful. It is.
And I would feel, if I'm going on a detox, I'll feel it in my stomach pulling. And
it can. There's no question it can. So if you could use inflammation or anti-inflammatory herbs and stuff like that, it'd be very helpful with that. It could be very helpful because we use those. We use our inflammation joints for, like RA and stuff like that. Any type of arthritic type of thing, and it works well as a symptom treater, basically.
Right.
But the herbs have as healing actions, but they don't have remove thy acid reaction.
Right. You got to get to the cause.
Got to get to the cause. You address that, then you're cool. But I would not do proteins on top of it because you're asking for additional uric acid deposits, and that doesn't lead anybody good anywhere. Let's do a couple more.
Sure.
All right, let's see what we got here. Interstitial lung disease.
So, interstitial.
My upper body scan showed interstitial lung disease, and I would like to order products from your website. Please advise. Yes. Well, I'm really not really trying to push product on this website, to be honest with you. I mean, but you definitely want to. So let's look at the word interstitial.
Right.
It's very important for everybody to understand interstitial.
So you've got cells and two fluids. In between all of that is the interstitial fluid, and which when we have exchange, the blood delivers nutrition, oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and then coming back into the interstitial fluid are the waste products, which are taken away by the lymphatic vessels. That interstitial fluid, though, it can get congested.
Yeah, I actually just because they separate interstitial.
It's all lymphatic.
That's what I just say it's lymphatic because they separate interstitial fluid from lymphatic fluids when really that 80% is all lymphatic fluids.
Well, it's
basically
going right into the lymphatic vessels.
There you go, and you got your blood there. I mean,
yeah.
So I really kind of look at that, not to confuse people. Say it's a lymph system and the blood when they come together, but it is. They do call it interstitial fluid, but I've told him before, it's just like us all. We're sitting separate, and there's air flowing between us, and it's like having a whole room full of people. Those are the cells, and we're making up the liver. Well, we have all these spaces, interstitial.
Right.
So the interstitial spaces is where God can move the blood, the kitchen, and the bathroom. That's your pathways.
If I'm trying to give him some oxygen, it's got to go through this space. If I'm trying to give him some glucose, it's got to go through this space. Congested up with waste products, I can't get that stuff over to him. And this obstruction, interstitial lung disease, is just a fancy way of saying there's lymphatic congestion in the spaces between the cells within the lungs.
And how do you get rid of that mucus and all that implies, the acid buildup? Detoxification, regenerative detoxification. It's the only answer to it. How do you get anything out you don't want? You detox it out.
Exactly.
Well, then you can argue on who knows detoxification better. But still, it's enough to say that that's always your key, your golden key. And I always talk about that with them, that detoxification is that golden key that'll unlock the door from everything.
Right.
Just amazing, because it's a regenerative move. So it's, so it's no different. You want to hit interstitially, what do you have to hit? Kidneys and adrenals.
Yeah.
You've got to hit the lymphatic system. Now, you're also going to bring up this.
Yeah, that's another route out of the body.
That's another route out of the body. So, you're going to expectorate some mucus out of the lungs.
Yeah, I've been getting good results with people, even inhaling 3-lung tea when they make it in the morning. And, it's steeping there on the pot. Just get a towel, go over it, breathe that in. And, those 3
and learn
herbs.
how to breathe.
Yeah.
Learn how to breathe abdominally instead of thoracically. Your first breath should move your abdominal muscles. It should move you might call your stomach, but your intestines. You should breathe out abdominally and then thoracically. Then all your lobes are full, but if you just shallow thoracically breathe, you're never getting down in those lower lobes. And of course, a lot of times, they're whacking off your lower lobes.
Yeah.
Because oxygen will break up mucus and
Get it out.
So when you're deep breathing, learn to deep breathe properly and to breathe properly daily.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do not breathe properly. They just sit there. They don't even know they're breathing.
And breathing is it puts you in that moment too, just focusing on the breath and...
Oh yeah. Yep. So that's all that is. And so the products, you would want to go on I would go on the 14-week protocol with the accent on the lung formulas.
Yeah.
I'd use lungs 2, and maybe even the 3-lung tea, like you said, steep some of that. But remember, interstitial is tied to the lymphatic system and the kidneys.
Yeah.
It's not the blood that's a problem, it's the kidneys that are the problem. The lungs are the victims. And they could have some genetic weaknesses, which even make that interstitial even more involved.
Right.
Then you have the mucus. It's not just lymphatic constipation. You have the mucus that's building up in that from consuming chemistry that the mucosa doesn't like. Foreign proteins make for mucus production.
They do. It's how the beautiful way our body protects itself from these foreign agents.
The great mucosa. And I laugh because we talked about these things with cayenne pepper, and I had a gentleman in my health food stores that walked in and said, I can do 7 teaspoons of cayenne pepper in a cup of water. And I said, you're full of crap. And by God, he did. And he had worked that up for years. And I got to thinking, that is so invasive to the mucosa. It'll harden the mucosa. It would make it less responsive.
Right.
And he had to get a ton of mucus from all that burning of the mucosa. See, even the good things can be, too much of that can be a bad thing.
Yeah, it's all balanced.
It's all balanced. Exactly. It's all balanced.
Right.
Yeah. She's here to keep me balanced. So that it's an easy thing, but what type of diet? Fruits, berries, and melons.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we got a few more minutes. Let me see. Oh. That's not a good one.
My brother was diagnosed with colon and liver cancer, aggressive form. So far, medical doctors are suggesting chemo as a treatment, for some reason no surgery. I was searching online and found immunotherapy in Santa Barbara, and they are using a facility in Tijuana, Mexico for treatment. From former patients' testimonies, it looks promising. Also, Dr. Mercola published on his website articles regarding immunotherapy and found very discouraging information. It can go out of control easily. I just bought 8 weeks of your herbal program for him to start as soon as they deliver, but I'm afraid it will not be enough since this is an aggressive form of cancer. What else can be done besides fruits, vegetables, and herbals?
Okay, take out the vegetables. Take out the vegetables and put them on a 40-day grape fast. And if you want to enter some lemon juice with that, you can. But if you want to save this guy, you get him on a grape fast, an extended one, 20 days at least, and you do it now. Bottom line, doesn't matter. Don't wait for the herbs. And if you can get herbs in a health food store or something, go look for herbs for the kidneys, herbs for the adrenal glands, herbs for what you know body parts that you're looking to get. Right. You don't have to wait for ours. You can just go in and buy something there. It doesn't matter if it's inferior. At least it's something that you're going after the kidneys for. You're going after the adrenals and that sort of thing. And of course, the problem is getting lymphatic formulas on the market. I mean, I had that problem years ago finding companies that made lymphatic formulas. So I don't know how it is today. I haven't looked on the market too much. I don't even look at that. I'm on the side of Mercola, to be honest with you, because the Contreras Clinic, the one you're talking about here, I've sent some people down there for Laetrile treatment, only to loosen up tumors, because Laetrile will loosen up real hardened tumors. So, but does it cure? Hell no. You know, there's no curative. You got to understand what causes this problem, not to throw curative things out there like that. That's reckless and not true, and it gives everything a bad name. So anyway, it's to take your blood out, to train it, to train your immune system to attack the cancer cells. It's like, your body already knows to do that.
It does.
Your macrophages already know to do that. That's what the whole thing of this is. But you can't remove that which is stagnant. You can't remove that which is obstructive. That's the problem. You can know there's a tumor in there, but how do you get it out besides black salve or a surgeon? The right way. The system that it's involved in, the lymphatic system. These are lymphomas. Yeah. So that's part of the problem, is that you have to go and address these tissues and get going on this. Get on this grape diet and get going. It doesn't matter how aggressive it is. But this immunology, it's like, it's the struggle of the AMA to link something different than chemo.
Well, that's what they're trying to do, and they're activating, they're overstimulating the immune response in this case. And, our immune system is very powerful. And when you look at how vaccines work, and that's triggering an immune response, and now we're seeing all of these things that happen after vaccinations. I mean, do you really want to overstimulate something that causes inflammation? Because inflammation is one of the responses of the immune system.
Natural response.
We already have widespread chronic inflammation already in most of people because of the acidosis.
See, and it's just turning that around and opening up the kidney matrix, and then you just pull all of that out, and then everybody backs down, everybody's good.
Exactly. Remove the cause, get the congestion out of there.
Body's just responding in your half. If doctors say the cause is inflammation, that's a natural immune response. What's really the cause? What's your body's responding to? That's what you have to look at, the cause. What's your body responding to? What are you consuming? And the number one chemistry is proteins. It is. Protein molecules.
Yep. Well, proteins are long chains of amino acids. And the nitrogen is also very hard. I mean, it's just all of this stuff to have to...
Well, I was giving them the breakdown of mother's milk. And if you kept it simple, you could say, in all the milks we looked at, pretty much follow this same protocol. We looked at baboon milk, we looked at goat milk, cow's milk. The nut milks are in different configurations, but these milks are pretty much, the top ingredient is your carbon. That is your sugars. That's your top ingredient. Your carbohydrate is your number one ingredient. Half of that then is the lipids, and half of that then is the proteins. So in mother's milk, you got about 7.5% is carbohydrate of that. The lipid content is about 3.5% or less, and then the protein is almost a little over 1%. So the protein is actually the least part of the milks. So you have to get with that and understand that. We've just had everything shoved in our face promoting the opposite. So now they're promoting the ass instead of the head. Yeah. Butt in, I'm sorry. But I just... okay. So, yeah, that's... again, fruits, berries, and melons. But I would put this individual on a extended grape fast, dark grapes. And lemons. We've seen miracles come out of that. And then go after the body appropriately, lymphatically speaking, because it's the same problem. It doesn't matter if it's liver, it doesn't matter if it's colon, but the liver is just a branch off the colon tree. It's kind of what, And so when that's all backed up, it's all backed up. So there's only one pathway to clear that out. That's a lymphatic pathway,
Yeah.
and that includes the kidneys and skin. So I'd get the guy sweating like crazy, or I would get the kidneys filtering as fast as I could, doing the 24-hour dry fast intermittently, maybe once a week. Hit that grape fast.
Yeah. GI broom to get that detoxification through the colon.
I would be drinking that GI
Yeah.
broom like it was tomato juice. I mean, because it's so astringent. And even though we're trying to astringe through the mucosa and through the, into the interstitial spaces, I get that. But you got to do something.
Right.
You've got to try to at least help astringe through the gut
Right.
and out that way a little bit. And the proof that it is look at all the mucus we can pull out that way.
Exactly. The more routes of elimination that we can enhance, the better.
That's what I say too. Yep. Pretty much 4 o'clock.
Time to call it a day.
I call it. So thanks, guys. We love you. It's this is an interesting field. It's a great field of love and joy, but it's also a great field of despair, and I don't know what to say about it. I mean, when I read some of these, I just want to go over here and just take a big cry because it's just so ridiculous. It's this thick of sufferers. And it's just got to change the nature of the planet here. And we've got to get these messages out to the folk that they've been misguided, misled by the intellectual narcissistics. And it's just, I don't know what to say about that. When you make up things and then tout it as true to the populace, someday it's going to blow back on you, and that's what's happening now. Truth people are coming out with the truth, and now we have more power than ever before. We're not so suppressed by the negative forces. We have more God people involved. So that's a good thing.
It is.
We love you guys. You take care of yourself. Happy out-of-body travels tonight, shall we say? I would say.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you guys.